Thanks to Brexit, banks in the UK will be able to pay out even bigger bonuses from January, but the new pay is unlikely to help the country's financial industry outperform its peers as top bankers balk at trading their handsome fixed salaries for uncertain rewards to exchange. Getting rid of the almost 10-year-old cap on bonuses is a key part of Britain's post-Brexit relations and the relaxation of rules, which the European Union introduced to discourage excessive risk-taking after taxpayers had to bail out banks in the global financial crisis. The outcome of a consultation between the Bank of England and the Financial Conduct Authority on the proposal to lift restrictions on bonuses is expected in the coming weeks. The proposal would apply to payouts earned in 2024. However, bringing the start of bonuses forward to 23 is indeed an option. Ministers and regulators hope this will attract more senior bankers to the UK and boost London's appeal as an international capital hub in competition with New York, Singapore, and EU financial centers like Paris and Frankfurt. However, bankers, lawyers, and compensation consultants say the high flyers could be losing more than they are gaining. Abolishing the cap will not attract more top bankers to the UK because their pay becomes more uncertain. That was said by Luke Hildyard, director of the think tank High Pay Center, and he told this to Reuters. According to the latest data from the European Banking Authority, more than 70% of EU-based bankers making over 1 million euros and subject to the bonus cap worked in the UK before the country left the Union in 2020. Capping bonuses at 100% of base salary or 200% with shareholder approval has prompted some UK banks to supplement base salaries with tailored and often undisclosed role-based allowances or RBAs to make pay more competitive globally. And this, as regulators say, makes it harder for banks to cut costs and absorb losses in a downturn. However, many bank employees are expected to resist trading guaranteed salaries for potential higher bonuses, which can fluctuate widely over economic cycles. I very much doubt there will be a dramatic return to the pre-financial crisis days of low base salaries and high bonuses. That was said by Suzanne Horn, head of Paul Hastings' International Labour Law Practice, and that was also in an interview with Reuters. We have a cost of living crisis, high inflation, public sector industrial action not seen since the 1970s. Any announcement of sudden changes in the bank's bonus structure is likely to prove controversial, she says. If the UK scraps the bonus cap, the EU would become a global outlier. Countries like the United States, Singapore, Japan, and Switzerland use other mechanisms to discourage excessive risk-taking, which the UK will continue to use. This includes only part of the bonuses being paid out in cash upfront, while the rest is paid out in the form of bank shares that can only be redeemed after several years. Bankers say it never does them well when bonuses take the spotlight, especially at a time when millions of people are struggling with tight finances. Some banks are already struggling with negative headlines for closing accounts and failing to pass on higher interest rates to savers. But UK Finance, the UK Banking Industry Association, has not responded to the public consultation, leaving individual members to comment if they wish. You can't think of a more politically toxic topic of conversation. This has never been a demand from the banking industry, and we don't want this to be a topic of conversation in an election year. That was said by a senior banker at an international lender, referring to the UK general election expected in 2024. Changing compensation quickly will be difficult in practice, as higher base salaries are enshrined in contracts and require employee approval or a change of role. Nevertheless, against a backdrop of significant bank layoffs in the first half of 23, coupled with bank failures and mergers, it's possible that this approval will be more than welcome, is what Horn said. According to the public consultation, removing the cap would boost the UK's reputation as a location for business. However, It's unclear whether EU bank subsidiaries and branches in the UK would still be bound by the union's cap and whether the EU could respond by, for example, making greater access for London's financial sector even more unlikely. Well, I think they would. Simon Patterson, executive director at Remuneration Associates, said the change could help US firms looking to relocate employees from New York to London. However, European banks could avoid changes to avoid creating a two-tier pay system or tempting the EU into requiring more UK staff to be moved to the continent. Not much will change if companies move their staff to the EU, he said, and the EU is finally tightening the requirements that presence is not just window dressing. Others warned against overestimating the importance of bonuses in Britain's struggle to grow the financial sector, which is still suffering from losses from major IPOs like Arm Holdings. Compensation is a small point in the big picture of a vibrant financial sector. When it comes to competitiveness, the whole ecosystem matters. That was said by Christian Edelmann, managing partner for Europe at Oliver Wyman. Yeah, we know the financial district of London. It's the heart of the British economy, and then came Brexit and fear spread. Pessimists reckoned with the loss of over 250,000 jobs, but these scenarios have not completely come true now. The most recent surveys assume that around 7,000 people have migrated so far. But experts believe that other European cities are now more competitive than London in areas such as investment banking. David Hennig of the European Centre for International Political Economy believes London is still seen as a global financial player, but not necessarily as the only European financial services hub, and I think Brexit has changed that. Now people think that not only London is a European financial centre, but also other places. It could be Paris, Amsterdam, or Dublin. And London is under pressure. Other European cities like Dublin are stepping into the limelight as new centres for banking. What was once predicted to be a mass exodus of city bankers from London has in fact turned out to be a strategic reorientation of resources around European banking centres to compete with London. Peter Lawler is the former chief economist of Deutsche Börse, and he believes that European centres like Frankfurt were a step ahead of London. At the same time, it's of course too early to assess the long-term impact of Brexit on financial services. I don't think the strategic thinking in the UK has been done right. Frankfurt was very interested. Paris was very interested. You know the incentives that have been put in place in various European cities. But where will it all ultimately lead? Whatever ultimately means, it's too early to say. And the tide has turned, the balance of power has been rearranged, and the story of the impact of Brexit on finance Europe is far from over. So we have not even seen the beginning of this. Yes, we know also because of the pandemic, instead of the millions of jobs, thousands of jobs have moved, but we are still only at the beginning of the changes that Brexit will bring to the financial sector. There are still transitional periods in place. We must not forget that. And if you want to know more right now, the next video is here in the end screen. I'll see you there. I'll be back.